Welcome in to another episode of Women's Basketball Now. You're watching Hoop Central on YouTube. This is Hamilton Neal joining you as always on our 17th episode, where we are going to have yet again no shortage of content, no shortage of developing stories to talk about. Very excited for what we're going over here. First, we're going to be talking about the UConn Huskies. Coach Geno Auriemma addressing the status of some of the injured players on his roster, Aubrey Griffin, Dorka Juhasz, and Caroline Ducharme. All of them rehabbing from different injuries right now. So we're going to first go over that, see what Geno had to say, and take a little look at what UConn's going to be doing for their June workouts. June 1st is the start of their summer workouts. So we're going to go over that first. Then talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. They have completely revamped their roster, new head coach, new players coming in, and the latest is Texas transfer Audrey Warren. We're going to go over what kind of impact that has on their team, and then talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. They have extended their head coach Kevin McGuff through the 2025-2026 season. So all the details on that, again, coming up a little bit later. But again, we're going to get things started by talking about the UConn Huskies, as head coach Geno Auriemma has provided some updates on injured Huskies players Dorka Juhasz, Caroline Ducharme, and Aubrey Griffin. Juhasz coming off a wrist injury, and Ducharme undergoing hip surgery back recently. Both will not be back on the court likely until August or so, during the late summer workouts for the Huskies. As for Griffin, who underwent back surgery this past season and missed the 2021-22 season, should be back on the floor for early summer workouts. Now, I don't know if that's going to be June 1, right when they get things started, the first day, but she will be on the floor sooner rather than later, because she had this past season, this entire year, to recover, to rehab. And it wasn't just the back injury, she had some other things going on as well, so it clearly wasn't the year that Aubrey Griffin expected, but I think she's going to come back stronger than ever, because she had a successful surgery back in early January to repair the disc damage in her back, and we know those back injuries are super debilitating. Any athlete that's undergone something like that, you know how tiring it can be to even try to play through that. You can't play through it. And that's something that UConn realized they had to shut her down, because the situation wasn't improving. And for her to come back 100% for this year is going to help them even more, because her role on this team has never been to be a primary scorer, 15, 20-point scorer. She chips in 8-10 points to go along with her ability to rebound offensively and defensively. That's what's going to help this UConn team win. Anybody that can pull down the boards is going to help UConn, because we know in the transfer portal and through recruiting, they haven't brought in many other post players. Now, they do have Ice Brady coming in for 2022, and I think just because of UConn's need to display some physicality in the post, she's going to get some early playing time, along with Juhasz, Aaliyah Edwards, and Amari DeBerry. Griffin plays that wing spot, but again has that ability to rebound the basketball. So if you have those other four post players in tandem with Griffin pulling down the boards and being active on the glass, that's really going to help UConn and take pressure off of the guards and the wings. Paige Beckers, AZ Fudd, Nika Meal, Caroline Ducharme, Lou Lopez-Senechal, who's coming from Fairfield. The backcourt is good. It's just questions on the interior. That's the only thing we're wondering about this UConn team, because they advanced to the championship game last year without having a great rebounding team. And if you can see Edwards take yet another leap, see DeBerry improve even more, if Brady can come in and provide some good minutes, provide some consistency to go along with Dorka Juhasz, who's the most experienced player out of the posts, UConn's going to have a team right up there with South Carolina. Now again, South Carolina has Aaliyah Boston coming back, Victoria Saxton. Those two are going to anchor what they do on the interior. And then you have so many other players with size. You go to Ami here. There's so many players on that South Carolina team that can rebound. And they exposed UConn last year in that championship game. We saw what they did on the glass, how they jumped on them early. UConn wasn't able to recover from that. Their ability to put on the offensive boards, the defensive boards. UConn's made it a point to develop DeBerry, who is staying on campus, to do just that, just get better. Not take a ton of off time, not have those gaps. She's continuing to refine her game and get better. Because this past season, you saw some flashes of potential, especially in the Georgia Tech game. You saw her play probably the most minutes that she did all season in that particular contest. That was a loss for UConn, but had a couple of buckets, had some presence on the inside, and as she gets more comfortable and continues to refine her post play, she's going to be a threat for UConn on the interior. So you have Juhasz, Edwards, DeBerry, as well as Ice Brady, to go along with Aubrey Griffin, who can put on some boards at the wing, UConn's looking pretty good there. And again, we're going to see just how good they are with the backcourt and the post players and how they all play together. This UConn team at least looks like the second best team in the country, right behind South Carolina coming into the season. So again, really interested to see how all of that plays out. And again, players still recovering, still rehabbing. There's a ton of time to do it. Geno Auriemma said that, the really intense workouts aren't really going to start until about August or so. So for Juhasz and for Ducharme, they have a lot of time to get to 100%. And as for Griffin, she can get in those early summer workouts, just get acclimated to being on the court again, and then be ready for what's to come late in the summer going into the fall as they get ready for the season. So all of those players continue to recover, and UConn's roster are going to be looking a lot better again as we get towards August, towards September. So that's the latest going on with the Huskies right now. Obviously, when we get more information in, we'll pass it along to you. But now let's go over and talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, a very new-look team from last season. Just a year ago, they had Joni Taylor at head coach. She has since left to take the spot at Texas A&M that Gary Blair left. They now have Kate Abrahamson-Henderson, who was the head coach at UCF. She has brought in Diamond Battles and Brittney Smith, who were on that UCF team last year, to Athens. Now coming as well is Texas transfer Audrey Warren. Warren had 35 starts in 59 games the past 2 seasons for Texas, averaging 10.3 points and 5 rebounds in 2020 and 8.2 points in 2021, helping them reach back-to-back regional finals in the NCAA tournament. Really, really experienced player, one that knows how to be part of the core, be part of the system. She wasn't the top option there at Texas, was a role player, but played very well in the role that she was given. Again, double-figure score in 2020, 8.2 points per game in 2021, so not a huge drop-off there. And I think coming into Georgia, she's going to help their backcourt because you have Diamond Battles, Brittney Smith coming in. Those two play on the wing. They're going to be out there a little bit, but Audrey Warren kind of playing that off-guard spot is really going to help them. Shooting the basketball, being a scoring threat, because obviously this team has lost so much of what they had. They did have Janiah Barker set to come in. She followed Joni Taylor to Texas A&M. You had Tania Hilton, who is also now at Texas A&M. Sarah Ashley Barker, now at Alabama. Reagan Richardson left for Duke. And you had Diana Collins, committed in 2023, who is now decommitted. So this Georgia team looks completely different than they did last season, and a lot of their guard and wing players are now gone. Again, Richardson, Barker, and Hilton were figuring to be part of that core. But now they've had to replace all of them, and again, Audrey Warren helping fill some of that void. Now also coming in is Savannah Henderson, number 41 overall player, according to ESPNW, number 10 wing in the class of 2022, was an early enrollee at UCF, and is a player that will also provide some good scoring. Was a 14-point per game scorer in high school, and again is going to help them on the perimeter and on the wing, where Georgia actually looks to be strongest with Audrey Warren, Battles, Smith, and Henderson. These four are really going to help them, especially there, but also rebounding the basketball, because you have a player like Diamond Battles, first team All-American Athletic Conference, Defensive Player of the Year in the league as well. Brittney Smith averaged 10.6 rebounds per game. Battles averaged 13.9 points per game. So the top two players from UCF following Coach Henderson here to Georgia, I actually think they're going to have a pretty good team this year. I think this is the makeup of an NCAA tournament team. I think they're going to be a bubble team. Out of that SEC, again, it's a very competitive league with teams like obviously South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, they're at the top. Florida's an on-the-rise program. Alabama's been solid. Mississippi State with Sam Purcell, they're trying to get back up towards the top where they were just a couple of years ago. But I do like this addition for Georgia, just getting an experienced player in, someone who's played deep into the NCAA tournament the last couple of years and was a productive player on a very good Texas team. Again, Audrey Warren, very, very skilled guard, one that's going to help their team very much so. Now let's wrap up by talking about Ohio State head coach Kevin McGuff. He has agreed to a contract extension that will run through the 2025-2026 season and will pay him up to $1 million in annual compensation. Since coming to Ohio State in 2013, Ohio State has a record of 193-31. In this past season, they appeared in the NCAA tournament for the first time since the 2017-2018 season, advancing to the regional semifinals with a 25-7 overall record. Kevin McGuff has really been one of the best head coaches in the entire country for quite some time now. Now, despite the fact that they've had self-imposed postseason ban, recruiting violations, things like that going on, he is a very good head coach. And all they've done since he's been there is win basketball games. Again, we mentioned they have a record of 193 and 31 overall. Obviously, they had some great years with Kelsey Mitchell, and since she left, it's been a little rough. Again, this past year was their first tournament appearance since Kelsey Mitchell's last season there. So, this Ohio State program, again, they've kind of been like Maryland. They've gone through a lot of transfer roster turnover. They've had players go out. Kateri Poole, Gabby Hutcherson just left this offseason. Kirsten Bell left, went to Florida Gulf Coast, had a great run there. She's now in the WNBA. So players have seemed to find more success elsewhere recently at other schools than they have at Ohio State. But he's always been a really good recruiter. They've always done a lot of good things in the Big Ten Conference. They've always been a top shelf team in that league. And again, getting back into the tournament this year is especially going to help their look with recruits. And they're continuing to build a good roster there. They surprised a lot of people by beating LSU at LSU in the tournament and then advancing again to the regional semifinals. I think it's a good move by Ohio State to keep him on through the 2025-6 season. Obviously, there's nothing he's done to prove that he should not be there. I think he's done everything that he could do to prove that he deserves to stay on for a little while longer and show that he can be the leader of this program long term, moving forward through the years. I think if they can continue to recruit elite talent, bring in transfers, they're going to be in the mix in the Big Ten, and they'll be in the mix to make runs in the NCAA tournament. But it's such a competitive women's college basketball landscape right now that even in their league, it's very, very tough for them with the likes of Maryland. Michigan's doing some good things right now. They had a really good team this past season. So the parity is continuing to increase every single year in women's college basketball, and that's why right now there's no better time to cover it. Whether it be, again, transfer stuff going on, we're going to talk a lot about that, like I said, in our next episode, with recruits. Again, the actual play on the floor, it's so competitive right now, and we've seen that. Since UConn won their last national championship, we've had a different champion every year since 2017. South Carolina, Notre Dame, Baylor. You had Stanford, and then obviously South Carolina. So our last 5 champions have been completely different. No repeat champion since UConn during the 2014-15 and 2015-16 seasons. So the parity is increasing, the competition is there, the buzz is here around women's college basketball, and that's why we do what we do here on this channel, to bring all the latest news to you. Not just with the games and with the play on the floor, but also, again, transfer stuff, recruiting stuff, everything down the line. Anything and everything women's college basketball we are going to bring to you, and we're very excited to do it yet again here in episode 17. And that's all the time that we have here on this episode of Women's Basketball Now. Thank you again for taking the time to watch. We'll see you in episode number 18 coming up soon. This is Hamilton Neal signing off for now. I'll see you then.